So I recently got into Marvel Rivals, the one of the newest games in the hero shooter genre. It's been super fun, and I've been playing a lot of its competitive mode. Um, but I have heard a lot of players talking about whether they should only play a single character when playing competitive, because the argument goes that if you only play one character, all your investment in that character will mean that you will naturally improve faster at it and climb the ranks more. And while I don't disagree with the logic behind that, I do think that the argument is kind of forgetting some of the nuance in that you do miss out on a lot of positives that you get from having other like experience playing other characters. So let's talk about it. So, probably the most common argument against only playing one role is the concept that if you only play one character, there's a lot of situations you might run into where you just simply can't play them or they're a terrible pick. The obvious one is if another player on your team happens to also only play that one character, well, one of you is going to be shit out of luck. And well, if you only play one, you got nothing you can flex into, and you're basically going to lose that fight. There's also a lot of characters that have matchups that are significantly harder for them. So by only playing that one character, you are locking yourself in, essentially, to harder matchups sometimes, which isn't optimal, obviously. So the gist of this argument is flexing. If you want to just play one character, sure, it's called having a main, but just keep in mind that you should have one or like a few picks. I would say, honestly, myself, that two for each role. You should have, how would I say this? Like, you should have two characters in each role that you have in mind for situations in which you are forced to flex into that role. For example, I'm a Magneto main. That's what I normally play. I hover over it when everyone's in Hero Select. But when I run into situations in which Magneto's not going to do particularly well, I still have some experience on the other tanks and will flex into whatever I think might help in that specific situation. I've also got like Squirrel Girl and Winter Soldier for DPS that I'll sometimes go into if the team is already has two tanks, because sometimes that happens. Not very often, but sometimes. And I play the Shark and the and Raccoon for when I get forced to flex into support, which also doesn't happen super often, but those kind of things allow you to have a bit more flexibility and mean that those like harder fights are really not going to be losses immediately. And that's sort of the thing about competitive, is that in order to climb, you're not attempting to win every single game you play. That's not realistic. It's not something that you should expect to do. But you are trying to move the marker above that 50% mark. Because even if you only have 52% win rate or something, you are still going to climb steadily with that win rate. Maybe more slowly than if you had a higher one, but you will still climb. So by offsetting those matches where your main character either has a bad matchup or where you just can't play them for whatever reason, by having flex picks in your back pocket, you're going to have some advantage over players that don't. There's a popular saying out there, know thy enemy. And the way that applies in this case is that a benefit you will get from having played other characters is that you will get a better perspective on what those characters like, what situations is good for those characters, and like how to play around them better. You know, if you know how the diver wants to get in on you and you main supports, you're going to naturally have more of an idea for what situations are going to likely get you dove on. Similarly, when you are playing against players who do know how to counter those players who are normally on your role, you're also going to get the perspective from the diver's standpoint and get to see how those players are countering you as a diver. That's just one example, but this applies to many roles. Like I main Magneto, like I said, and a common pick that I was running into that was giving me trouble was Winter Soldier. Because Soldier, if you have bad positioning, can pull you out of position. He can do lots of burst damage to you. So I ended up picking up him as one of my flex picks for a DPS. And that kind of gave me a better idea of how to counter Soldier, because by playing him, I got the chance to play around with his hook, which was the biggest thing that was messing me up because I just didn't understand how much range it had. Now I know that the range is actually quite short, so I'm able to kind of better predict when I'm in danger of getting pulled by a soldier now than before I did that. And that's just one example. So a good idea if you're not sure what to try flexing into, I would say, is imagine the characters that are really giving you trouble and just try to play them maybe in a quick play match or something like that. Give them a shot. See if you enjoy their kit. If you do at all, then I would say try to pick them up and flex into them in a few matches when you need to and see what you can get done with them. See what kind of perspective you can gain. Sometimes you're not going to win a match, as I said. And in those situations, the best thing you can do is learn. And by playing counter picks to you in those matches where you're usually going to lose anyways because you're not on your main, you're going to get that valuable experience and be able to learn something out from the match anyways. Anyways, that's just the argument perspective. It's good to have.
Exactly as I expected. Fear Magneto! Honor superior, you cannot hurt me. Insolent, you shall not be hard.
One of the smarter members of the audience here might have foreseen the last two arguments. This is one that I'm fairly confident a lot of people don't think about when they're playing competitive shooter games, and that's the concept of burnout. If you only play one character every single time, it's going to be significantly easier for you to get bored, for you to get frustrated and upset, especially if you're stuck in a specific rank for a while. Having a few flex games here and there is going to keep the game fresher for you and increase the longevity of your play experience. And if you're playing and having fun, you're also going to be playing better, which is naturally going to contribute to playing well and winning more games. Anyways, those are all my arguments that I have against one-tricking one hero in particular. I hope you take those into consideration when you think about what you want to play, and when we're in competitive games together, I hope you consider it if the game has 4 DPS. Now, I have a few things I want to leave off on. My channel's pretty new, so if you watched this video to the end, I would appreciate liking, possibly subscribing. I have a very small channel. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you didn't enjoy it, if you have counter arguments, maybe you're a big fan of only playing one hero, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I am always open to having criticism because that is a good way to learn. It's a good way to broaden your horizons. Even if we don't end up agreeing, me understanding the other perspective might end up changing how I think about these things. Anyways, Hope you have yourselves a lovely day. Don't end up getting tilted and competitive. Have yourselves a good night. See you.